On this day in 1976, the Soweto uprising saw many young people take up the fight against Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. It was a day that changed the history of South Africa, and that was the role and mission of the youth of that time. And it created a platform for young people to fight for their rights. Today, the biggest battle is unemployment, with many young graduates sitting at home with their degrees and diplomas simply as ornaments on the wall.
Now, with that in mind, what are the country's youth leaders doing to help fight that battle? To speak more on that, I'm joined by the ANC's Colin Malachi, the IFP's Mlungisi Mabaso, and in studio with us is entrepreneur J.T Magidi. Thank you very much to all of you for being here with us. To kick off the discussion, perhaps because you're here with us in studio, Justin, if I can start with you. Unemployment affects so many of our youth. I was speaking to Panyaza Lesufi a little bit earlier, Premier of Gauteng, saying 2.2 million people, young people, are unemployed just in Gauteng. The private sector has been tasked with coming on board to help fight this. But you're also very much involved, not just in business, but in education. Why is that so important?
Okay. I think the first thing is to understand the core problem that is on the ground. Let's not solve the side effects of unemployment. Who are the employers? So the first thing is we need to make sure that our kids are the ones that are the employers of tomorrow. So it starts from the education side. Are we teaching our learners entrepreneurship skills from grade 1? Even also on our universities, do we have entrepreneurship subject as a module? If we don't have that, definitely this problem is going to continue for many years to come.
So it's not just policy, it's not just politicking, it's not just economics and high-level talk. It starts from the foundation, it starts with education. I'm going to come to you now, Colin. Your name is in the hat to contest for the position of the president of the ANC Youth League. So as a prominent member of the governing party's youth structure, I'm sure you must be very cognizant of the issues, of course, facing our country's youth and the lack of progress made over the past more than 2 decades in addressing those challenges. What should we be doing differently, and what is the ANC Youth League aiming to do differently to help the youth?
Look, the most important thing is to make sure that we reindustrialize by using our raw materials to create employment for the youth. For example, today I joined a program led by the Premier of Gauteng, where there were thousands of young people who were still applying for jobs. And it was a very sad event because it is a reflection of high level of inequality that are facing this country. But that can be addressed. It can be addressed by, firstly, as the governing party, we create an environment for investors to invest. Secondly, our ability to discipline capital, because we must be able to force private partnership and government. Was the responsibility of everybody. Because if there's high level of unemployment in the whole country, it does not only affect government, it affects also big business and everyone else, because it gives results to crime, it gives the rights to high level of drug addicts in the country. It gives rise to a society that is highly disorganized and demoralized. Now, no one can operate that environment, whether it's government or business. Now, that partnership is very important, must be enforced. Government must force private companies to play a crucial role, to take responsibility. In many companies, you find a job that's supposed to be done by 10 people is done by 4 people. Now, we need to monitor such areas. And I think as a youth of this country, it is not an issue of only the ANC Youth League. All young people must unite to fight against this thing of unemployment, because the biggest thing can be right that over 70% of unemployment in South Africa is young people. Now, those are areas that need to unite us. If there are things that divide us, but to address issues of inequalities and fighting all socio-economic challenges must be what unites all of us in honor of the 1976 generation.
Right, thank you very much. I'm going to introduce one of our other guests who has joined us now, the DA's Nicholas Nyati. He's joined us as well. Welcome, Nicholas, to the discussion. I want to give you an opportunity, Justin, if you'd like to respond to Colin, because, in so many instances, government, almost passes the buck to big business and says, well, hang on, we're doing what we can. Now you are being forced to employ certain people. But surely there must, and there are incentives in place, but surely there shouldn't be a question of having to force companies to employ people, because then the system isn't working.
Yes. So I think the most important thing is to say what the government must create the environment that is conducive for investors. And also the government must not only see the investors as those that are coming from outside. I believe the youth, we're supposed to be the investors of the next generation. So the skilling of the youth will help us to unleash this problem. Because if we say 20% of our youth, if they manage to start their own business, that 20% population will be able to employ the other 80%. So we need to change the mindset to say only the big corporates supposed to take the burden. We need to say, us as youth, can you take the responsibility to start something so that at least we can also able to help our fellow colleagues.
Now, we're going to come to our other guests in a moment. Nicholas, we know you are there. Also, Mlungisi Mabaso from the IFP. First, I want to draw in our Youth Day guest, DJ Extreme from YFM. As a young person, you've sort of reached a point where many young people want to get to. They look up to you. You've got a brand established. Your career trajectory is on the up and up. What advice do you have, not just for young people, but for our guests? Because often politicking gets in the way of actually getting the work done.
I think I'd love to start off by saying, you know, on a day like this, it's very important as young people to reflect. So I've got three things, you know. So a day like this, you reflect, but at the same time, you actually just, you know, look forward. So progress has to be, you know, the number one thing that we are talking about right now. So just to inspire, you know, the young person out there that's, you know, watching us, listening to me on the radio, start with whatever it is that you have. It's a very difficult time. You know, when we look back, the youth of then were struggling with other things, but now we are struggling with certain things. Your GBV, you know, unemployment is very rife. And, you know, we are just fighting for opportunities. And when we look at the government, we just want a seat at the table. So start with whatever it is that you have, and also just, you know, understand that unfortunately no one is going to come and save you. You know, you just have to wake up and actually just, you know, save yourself sometimes. Make that conscious decision to say to yourself that, listen, I want to better my life, and I just want to actually just, you know, make sure that I start something, whether it's a business, whether it's you starting a podcast, you know, using your phone and actually just recording yourself, whatever it is that you do, just start with whatever it is that you have.
I love that. Nobody is going to save you, but surely it is the responsibility of older people, people who have years of experience and who have the privilege of having doors opened for them to, in turn, open some doors for the youth. I want to come to you, Mlungisi. As one of the official opposition parties looking ahead to next year, it is an opportunity ripe for the picking for South Africans from all political backgrounds, persuasions, to come together and really make a change. But to do that, we've got to get the youth to buy into that vision and perhaps to vote. So what is the IFP doing, and what are your youth structures doing for young people in South Africa to get them to be active citizens?
Well, thank you very much. And let me greet all the colleagues that are part of the discussion. The reality is that as the IFP, we had introduced quite a number of programs, especially in the municipalities where we are governing. But over and above that, today we had a march which was directed to the Office of the Premier in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, where we were saying to the Premier of the province that one, KwaZulu-Natal is a province with 6 economic hubs, and the conducive, which will enable investors to come and invest in the province so that it helps to contribute in the creation of jobs for the youth in the province. Two, the province is planning to shut down 900 schools, and yet, we have learners that must, get access to these schools to further their education. But over and above that, we have a vacancy rate of over 5,000 teachers that still needs to be absorbed in the system, and we have quite a number of unemployed graduates that are sitting at home doing nothing because the system has not absorbed them. So it's some of the issues that we have raised, which in a way addresses the issues of young people, and we are using those kind of programs to mobilize for young people so that at least they are able to see the need for them to participate and vote in the next year's elections. Because what we do not appreciate, in fact, as the youth in the IFP, is this thing of always saying that the youth must come together, the youth must work together to find solution, forgetting that it is in fact the responsibility of government to make environment conducive. And we are not saying government must create jobs, because government is not an agency of creating jobs, but government must enable the environment, for businesses to invest so that it is able to create jobs. But it's the responsibility of government to create an education system, that will respond to the demand that is there in the market. Because I'll make a practical example, and my colleagues in studio made a great reference, with entrepreneur, because you have a subject called LO in the school, that does not assist even when you enroll to the university. We should be introducing subjects that will be beneficiary for the young people, that will secure their future, not subject that will be there just to increase the pass rate. So those are the things that we want government to address, and those are the things that as the IFP have decided to be vocal on, so that we are able to mobilize the young people in the country to see the need of coming together in the next year's election, so that they are able to vote out the government that has not really shown interest in addressing the issues faced by young people.
Thank you very much for that. Now, also joining into the conversation, we've got a DA's Nicholas Nyati joining in, who is an entrepreneur as well. That is Justin Magidi. But Nicholas, let me just start with you. In terms of just a lot of infighting that is happening within the political parties, will there ever be a time where political parties actually put the youth first and they actually put politics aside?
What is politics? Politics is the plea to govern and serve. This means that politics is meant to have servants who want to represent their country or their society. The second aspect is that we can never separate politics and say that a governing party can only represent the youth. A governing party is supposed to ensure that they are there to represent the system and implement what they promise in government. This has been done in South Africa. It has been done in South Africa, but people do not want to go and acknowledge the facts. I listen to my colleagues, I listen to Colin, I listen to Mlungis, and I think we are missing the basic principles of governance. Governance is an entity that is supposed to supply the basics. Basics in South Africa, as enshrined not just in the Constitution, but in the Bill of Rights, a supply to electricity, a right to water and sanitation, and the right to shelter. This is not being done in South Africa. If we can create a society that produces electricity for each and every individual, that addresses two things. It gives people electricity. It also enables the investment that Umlungisi was speaking about to come and present or to at least create jobs for our greater society. Now, Umlungisi speaks about we need a government to create an enabling society. That government can only be able to create that enabling society if we vote out the crooks. I think all of us in this interview are scared to name them. And perhaps let me take the bullet for the team. We are in this mess because of the African National Congress. The government or governing party that has been in charge of this country for the past 29 years has brought us into this mess. They brought us into this mess because, number one,
Nicholas, I'm going to jump in there. I do apologize. But I think, I'm glad you say we're missing the point that we need basic services, but I think there's also a point that the DA sometimes misses. The DA never misses an opportunity to criticize other parties, but neither your colleagues, Colin or Mlungisi, have done that tonight. So let's refocus our discussion on the youth and not on a critique of the national government at this stage, because we know what issues are out there. I'd like to use the time to give each of our guests on the panel this evening another opportunity and perhaps to give a message to the youth out there. Whether it is focused on empowering themselves, whether it is focused on education or entrepreneurship, whether it is, a political message, the floor is yours. I think let's start with you, Justin. If you have a message for young people, whether they're in school, whether they are in tertiary educations, what would you say to them?
Okay. I think my message will say, first thing, they must start something with what they have. That's the first thing. And then at the same time, they must also fix problems around their community in exchange of revenue. That's entrepreneurship for you. So it's easy to build a business. You must just look for the problems around you and fix them. And then also, when they start their business, they must manage cash flow. It's very, very important. And also, they must also manage to market their ideas.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Justin. Incredibly wise words there. I'm going to come to you next, X, because you're here in studio, and then we'll cross to our guests who have joined us virtually. Some short, wise words to young people, even if it's a message just of upliftment.
Currently we are facing a lot as young people, but my message of encouragement would be to just believe in yourself. You're not alone. We are all in this race. A lot of young people are facing these difficulties. But stay motivated, keep a circle that actually just motivates you all the time. Keep a circle that actually just, pushes you to go for your dreams. But also be vocal, use social media to actually just, change things for the good. I know people say social media is a very toxic place, especially Twitter. But use social media for good. Spread positivity. Your time will come, your time will come. Yes, we are currently facing a lot. The government, we feel that they are not hearing us, they are not understanding us, but we have to actually just amplify our numbers using the tools that we have currently.
And be patient, your time will come. Great, wise words. Colin, I'm going to come to you next. Perhaps you can give our viewers, our young viewers especially, a message from yourself, from the ANC Youth League. The floor is yours.
Look, the most important thing that we must do as a youth is to reskill. We need to prepare ourselves for skills of the future, which is because we are reindustrializing. We need the skills that will be able to assist us to create job opportunities and also be employable. We need technical skills. We must all go to TVET colleges, go to technical schools to try to get those skills. That's number one. Number two, we need to take full responsibility of our own country. The illegal migrants who are selling drugs and in the country, and those that are in businesses who are exploiting illegal migrants because they know that they will not be able to raise their rights. We must be the watch of them and make sure that those opportunities are open for all the youth of South Africa who qualifies for those jobs without them being exploited. And it must be us who become the vanguard to make sure the country is protected. Lastly,
I'm going to ask you to unfortunately leave it there because I want to give our other two guests an opportunity as well. I do apologize, Colin. Nicholas, coming to you, a very short message. We are running out of time, but something that the youth can take home and think about tonight.
We have a power to create history in South Africa, and that power starts by young people registering to vote. So I want to urge each and every young person to go out and register to vote for a government that will impact change, a government with a proven track record. And that government, you can go and view it by checking on Google on who is the best governed province in this country. So I want to encourage young people to go out and take back their power. Let us give power to the registered.
Active citizenry. Thank you very much. Mlungisi, we're going to end off with you. What are your wise words to our young viewers tonight?
Thank you very much. The youth of 1976, in fact, showed that when young people unite, they become very strong. So that's our word of encouragement to the young people of South Africa to say we need to come together, we need to unite, we need to draw our aspirations from the youth of 1976 and confront those that have made the situation to be where it is right now and change the status quo and occupy the spaces, get into the positions of power so that we are able to influence decisions, and the power is in our hands. We need to do that. We need to unite for the better of our future.
Thank you so much once more to all of our guests this evening, to the ANC's Colin Malachi, to the IFP's Mlungisi Mabaso, to the DA's Nicholas Nyati, and to our in-studio guest, entrepreneur Justin Magidi. We do appreciate all of your contributions to this evening's discussion. We're going to carry on with your news in just a short while. Extreme is going to stay here with me in the studio to continue bringing you the news. Do stay with us here on South Africa Tonight.